Are you ready?
Okay.
Hang on just. I had to turn my sound off.
What's that?
Here we go. Don't you guys vote? Great. Meeting order at 7:01. And back up to the top here. Pledge of allegiance. I'll lead it this time. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lillian, do we have any green cards? Okay. Public comments, reports and correspondence, student government report. Mr. Bell, the young Mr. Bell.
Good evening. My name is Dylan Bell, and I'm the AC president at Kbcs. Thank you for allowing me to present tonight. I want to start this off by saying congratulations to the girls basketball team for winning state this past weekend, and they had a really amazing season this year. We're gonna have their big blue assembly at the high school this Thursday to celebrate their season. Also, congratulations to the boys basketball team and wrestling team for placing 4th in state this year. We held an assembly last month to celebrate our winter sports going into their playoff seasons, and obviously they were able to do very well. But that day we kind of incorporated a pancake feed with the assembly. We were able to feed all the students breakfast and then bring them a lot of joy with the games and the assembly as well. So there was a lot of good spirit and joy, genuine joy coming out of that day. And a really big part of that was Principal Belleville and his contributions to that day. And he's been a really great for both the student body and the faculty at Kbcs. And he's brought a lot of genuine happiness and support to both the students and staff there. Big thank you to him. But then also another part of that day is that we asked Mrs. Girding, the kitchen manager, to do tacos since it was a Tuesday, to do Taco Tuesday kind of thing. And so she was able to pull that off spectacularly. So we as ASB wanted to make sure that we were able to give a big thank you to her. So we invited the students to write personal thank you notes to her. And so we sent this out and we received hundreds of these personal thank you notes to her. And we were able to make over 5 posters full of these thank you notes, which are up on the wall of the kitchen right now. So that was a really special thing to be able to be a part of this. So we're ending the winter trimester this week with finals week. And then as we're looking to the spring trimester, we're looking forward to being able to do a lot more things. We're actually planning a dance to take place on April 29th, which again, Principal Belleville has been a big part of helping us organize that. So we look forward to being able to bring a lot more school spirit back this spring and we're able to do more activities. Thank you. Are there any questions for me?
How was 420?
It was very good. We were able to raised over $2,500 for the unified basketball team, and we sent 16 people into the river.
Cool. Thank you for the report. Very good. Sounds like a lot of positive things going on at the high school, which is great.
It's been a great time to be there.
Good.
Very good.
Thank you. Give me you. Yeah, association reports, PEA. I don't see Lynn anywhere. by OSEA.
Hi, I'm Amber French. I'm one of the OACA's co-presidents, along with Laura Shun. Laura's up there. So first we want to thank, in our building, the licensed teachers put up posters of they made posters for the classified. Last week was classified week, and they made a bunch of posters from all over the building. And then every day there was a special little like treat in the staff room for us, so that was really appreciative. It really uplifted our spirits a lot. We have a new OSCA representative, Cindy Meyer. Our previous representative took a job in OSCA promotion for her, which is awesome for her. And our new person is Gabe Ortega. I've never met him yet, talked on the phone a few times, but we are starting our bargaining training the week after spring break. So we're looking forward to that for people like me who've never been on bargaining training. So I mean, they're looking forward to it, and I'm naive. I know.
You'll fit
We'll
right in.
see. We'll see. And that's about it. That's what's going on with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and this has been Classified Employee Appreciation Week, and I have a proclamation to read. And we'll start out. Classified Employee Appreciation Week is celebrated every year during the first full week of March. The Paloma School Board wishes to make this proclamation of appreciation. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon the trust classified employees to serve students, and whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Paloma School Board of Directors proclaims March 7 through 11, 2022 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that the Paloma School District Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join in this observation, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals, adopted this 14th day of March 2022. Thank you very much to all the classified employees. Superintendent report.
Multitasking. Or trying. Lori, can you give me please permission to share? Thank you. I also, in my superintendent's report, wanted to add information about classified employees. And just to say that on OSBA's website, we make it work with class was their mantra or theme for the Classified Employees Week. And it really is an opportunity to say, and you'll hear oftentimes that we all know who really runs a school district, and that's the secretaries and the custodians who get everything done. And there's a lot of truth to that in terms of the commitment to doing all the things that just happen by our classified staff. And so it's very much appreciated, the dedication that these people have to our district and making it such a wonderful role. So very much to be appreciated. I wanted to add that our district has received $10,000 from OEA Choice Trust, and the grant program was set up as an educator health and well-being grant. And it's one of the easiest applications I have ever written in my life. And it's really about doing good things with and for your staff. And so we met with representatives from both active unions, from PEA, OSCA, our nurses, and district representation to talk about how we want to use these funds to be able to make, provide some opportunities to do some things. And so a couple of the pieces of information we've talked about are things like providing some lunches on Fridays, and either with local restaurants or food trucks or a combination thereof, of being able to make sure that we can just do some grab and go meal sorts of things. Healthy snacks in staff rooms, some money to go toward each staff room to purchase something that they believe that they need. A new microwave, an ice machine, a coffee maker, any of those kinds of things that folks can think of. The money goes into next school year, and so we'll see kind of where we land in terms of the expenses, and then be able to make a determination about whether we use the funding all this spring or if we plug it in, some of it into next fall. But we're looking forward to it as an opportunity to be able to do some additional things with our staff, with all our staff. So last month I was asked to take a look at our district calendar, and primarily in representation of the Juneteenth holiday. And if I could spell it right, it would be great. For those of you that don't know, the Juneteenth holiday commemorates the end of slavery in the United States, often referred to as Emancipation Day or the Juneteenth Independence Day. So for this year, our teachers and most of our classified staff that work on a 190-day regular school year calendar will not work on that day. They will be done by that point. And so we don't have to consider this year what that means for that group of people. Staff members with more than a 190-day contract, my proposal is that they have the day off in commemoration of that holiday. And teachers and instructional assistants working in summer school during June, excuse me, will not have the day formally recognized as a holiday. We're running up against a crunch in June summer learning anyway for the high school with a 2-week time period. And so we want to be able to maximize whatever we can, and said if there are summer school staff hired in June who wish to recognize the holiday, they will be able to have that day with supervisor approval as a non-contract day, so that they are not excluded from the opportunity to recognize that day. I was going to move into the 22-23 calendar and how we would look at it next year, but have also heard some things, some other information last week that were recommendations for the calendar for the 22-23 school year, such as might we be able to move the end of a trimester date so that it evens out with graduation, the number of days in a trimester, some things like that. And so I wanted to have the opportunity to put that together completely, and we'll bring that back to the April meeting. But my recommendation for this year is that this is the way we take a look at Juneteenth for us this year. I also put the civil rights data collection. It's a federal report for districts and schools that we have to complete every other year. Things like, what is your overall enrollment disaggregated by race and ethnicity? How many algebra classes do you have offered for 7th and 8th graders? How many students take Algebra 1 as freshmen and sophomores and how many pass? How many take Algebra 1 as juniors and seniors and how many pass? How many people participate in SAT, PSAT, or ACT testing? What are your sports activities? What about discipline, suspension, expulsions? I mean, they ask just a whole litany of stuff representing each school and district. And so it's quite an involved process. And we were able to get that done and hit the submit button Friday afternoon and to get that turned in, and we'll see what we hear from them in terms of if there are any glaring errors that we need to be able to fix, although they're pretty good about pointing them out to you before you submit. But wanted to acknowledge that because that's taken a lot of school time. What we've done is that we sent every school the template of the data we needed for schools with the data we knew filled in. But there are some things that we can't just know. So for instance, we have no way in our data systems to know the number of students or who they were that participated in ACT or SAT tests. That has to come directly from the school. Students who participated in advanced placement course testing. We know those students in advanced placement classes, but if we had to do anything on advanced placement testing, the school's got to provide that information. So it's an extra piece of verifying the data at school level. And as far as the data entry level, I think Lillian spent quite an inordinate amount of time being able to make sure we have all the information in. So it's quite a group effort to get it done. It changes from time to time about what they want. But it's a big job that it's nice to be able to have that done and have the commitment of everybody to help us get done. We do have information later on in the agenda about the local option levy, but what I wanted to do was make sure we had in here the information about just a reminder that we plan to go for the November 8th, 2022 election. And the reminder of the deadline to file titling and information is in August and September, which is tomorrow. And so want to be able to make sure that as we have the conversation that we have those dates available so that we can be talking about uniform information. We're all on the same page with dates. The upcoming dates, remember that I put in, don't have any of the athletic or school-specific calendars. What I did was put in those days on the district calendar that were reminders for us about non-student days and our graduation days and the last day of school for our students. Oh, I forgot to put in there summer learning. We will get money for summer learning. Not as much as we got last year, but we will get money to be able to support a comparable program. If you remember correctly, we did credit recovery at a high school level in June, and in some of July and through August, we did literacy camps at the elementary school and some other interest-based camps over the course of the remainder of the summer. And we'll have some opportunity to work on that, and we're doing some planning that will hopefully once again give summer learning opportunities to students for free. And that's our push, to be able to help out with any kind of learning supports we can throughout the summer. One of the things that we're looking at right now, which will be a nice addition this year, is we're looking at being able to provide a couple of 3-week runs in the swimming pool where people can have an opportunity to get in and take some swim lessons over the course of the summer as part of the summer camp. So we're pretty excited about that as well, to be able to make sure we have good opportunities for this. So that's what I've got in there for tonight.
Okay, thank you. I see Lynn's on there. Does he want to?
Yep.
Yeah, but I was just gonna mention Glenn joined us, so maybe he has a report.
Yeah.
I have no report.
What's that? I think I heard him say he has no report.
That's what I heard as well.
Oh, he has
Okay.
no report. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. What did he say?
He said, "Oh,
Okay. Director of Finance report, Jennifer.
So you have your reports in the board packet. You see the enrollment hasn't really changed over the last few months, which is good. It hasn't gone up or down. We're hoping to stay steady for the rest of the year so things can stay nice and even. That won't change. That way our funding from the state school fund won't change. They plan on doing a rebalancing in April, but I don't think that will affect us. That has more to do with the Senate Bill 743 that has to do with charter school and virtual charter school academy numbers and how they're affecting district enrollments. So I don't see that rebalancing affecting us at all because we haven't had that swing based on that. We have our initial estimate for funding for next year, and it's a bit higher than what I was anticipating, but not enough to make a huge difference on any big programmatic changes in next year. We just have to try to make everything fit that we already have. And you'll see later in the meeting, we have a couple of big facilities expenditures to approved by the board because of the dollar amount. Other than that, I have nothing else really exciting to share.
Numbers are always exciting.
For some of us, they are.
Thank you. Did you want to do that 4-6 or after 6?
I was thinking before 6.
Okay, we're gonna do a little deviation from the agenda here. We're gonna do the language arts instructional materials right now so that we can get some teachers. And then we'll do the technology. So we get the teachers out of here so they go rest up to
Thank you.
kids tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just set this right in front of you.
so people can hide you. All right. Thanks, we're excited to be here. So I'll introduce Steve Bell, and this is
I'm Alan Joswiak. I'm the language arts 6th grade teacher.
I'm Kim Manis, 7th grade language arts. Adeline Stewart, art and ride. Chrissy LeBron, RTI as well.
And so we're looking for materials adoption in language arts. We're at that stage where we re-looked to try to find out the date of when the last time language arts materials were adopted, sort of this official manner, it's a large purchase. And we couldn't really come up with the date, it was so long ago, but the publication date for the last textbooks that we adopted was 2001. So we're due, and staff's been really excited. So we were gonna do this last school year, but things changed. And so we put that off to this school year. And with that, Addie really just jumped in and took the lead and started us off in the fall. And so I'm letting her kind of go through the timeline and do some explanation materials and then actually show you some of the materials that we're looking at.
Yeah. So in October, we reached out to Western Oregon University, who generally has materials available for teachers to come view, but they weren't going to be ready until February. So we decided to go it alone. So we took the list that they have, that's the ODE approved curricula, and we looked at just the exemplary ones. And so those are the ones that hit all of the non-negotiable things that Oregon views as important, as well as 90% of some other standards, which are the alignment criteria for the Common Core State standards. So we looked at 5 different curricula. We were able to get samples sent to us in November. In December, the LA team looked over all of the samples. We met, we discussed, and we narrowed it down to 2. And then in December, we were able to meet with those 2 companies on Zoom, and they gave us a little bit more information, and we settled on Amplify. That was our choice of the 5 exemplary curricula. So something that's different about this one from other curricula, especially the one that we have, because it was the same one that I had in 6th grade, is what we were teaching. It was really last one fast. So one of the things is there's an online side. Yeah, and Chrissy's gonna actually show you some things. There's an online guide. They've updated things a little bit, so they included graphic novels, which is neat. But they also have different journals that are available for every single unit. So the units are broken down. It's not really a huge bulky textbook necessarily. There's journals that students can work through. Do you have anything you want to add as a teacher from that perspective?
So the journals are consumables then?
The journals are consumables, yes.
You can imagine what it's like trying to teach with the textbook from 2001.
Oh, yeah.
The kids just look at the publication date and you can see the look on their face, just, this is what my parents had, you know? What I really liked about it was, especially the online portion, it was really easy to differentiate for different kids. You could put a whole class in, set this group of kids have looking at this one version of the text, and the rest of the kids looking at the other versions. Easier for IEP students, for tag students, all of the whole spectrum.
It also, the online, features are amazing and interactive. They have these writing prompts, which you can differentiate for each student's level, put their level in, and it will grade them according to that. You can change the grade if you don't quite agree with it, but it gives them feedback. So the automatic grading thing is wonderful, but again, we can go back and we can change it if we don't agree with it. But also the fact that we have the ability to not just be online. A lot of it, it is all able to be produced, to be able to have the text in front of them instead of just online. So it gives us really that flexibility of having both paper and the online version, which is something that we really do find valuable because students all learn different ways.
How many physical textbooks? There's going to be enough for every student to have a physical textbook, or is it going to be like class sets?
So there's a class, you want me to take that? Yeah. We reviewed this today. So the class set, it's like a student textbook in the classroom. And then in this, it tells you, refers to the journal where you do your writing. And so this is not a consumable. This would stay in the room, but then the students would write in their journals, and then they need to turn that in. It goes back and forth. And then the following year, we get a new shipment of new journals for them to write in. And so then, can I just keep going?
Okay.
And then I'm stealing her thunder because she's outside. So then the teachers, actually, this is the teacher textbook. So this is the one unit. So for the teacher aspect, they're not carrying around this back and forth. They get to carry this, and then when they switch to the next unit, they get the next one. And so that's actually very teacher friendly as far as when you're taking things home or moving around and do that. A lot different than a large thick calculus book. And so that's a really neat aspect of how this interactive of change of hard copy and online and how it really blends. It's a real change in the way publishing companies are doing things now. We feel like this is like as close to that real genuine blend as we've seen.
How much emphasis on writing is in here compared to your previous curriculum?
So it's very different.
Okay.
And at the middle school, we have language arts and literature separated. And here it's really connected. There are many writing opportunities per unit. And within the first, I think, 4 units, all of the state standards are covered for the year. Do you remember other writing in there?
I mean, the writing goes throughout. Some of it's response to literature. They've got, all of the essay types that we cover as well. It has, to me, I think it has a lot more writing than we've seen previously. Plus, honestly, the textbooks that we're given right now, other than the literature textbooks, we have our technical language arts textbooks, which are elements of language, which as far as I'm concerned, I don't think any of us use. And haven't used for years. We have been producing things on our, so really, we have been making our own curriculum. Firstly, since I've been there, and I know they were doing that before I got there as well. So at least 6 years, but longer than that, really, we come up with the material, or we purchase the material ourselves to be able to use, and this is all here for us.
Yes, but if I had one complaint about my own education back in the day is that I was really not taught how to write until I was like a junior in high school. You know, and it's just like that did hold me back with some other things because it just wasn't, the emphasis wasn't there. I mean, there was grammar and things like that, but actual writing, learning how to write, how to compose, how to, draft, how to rewrite, those things were never really.
That's really the point of emphasis in middle school. We try to, there's always sixth to eighth grade of, how to make that process enjoyable and collaborative, right, versus just forced. And so it's real art that goes on in that. And so yes, you're exactly right. Writing is extremely important in this process, along with reading, where this provides new, up-to-date literature that we have access to.
And I do understand that writing can be one of the hardest things to grade from an educator standpoint. So I understand that balance of, you can't assign thousands of writing projects, but if you have some element of online grading, that will alleviate some of that time. And you're able to adjust that, of course. That sounds great.
One more thing is, with our, if we were to purchase this curricula, it comes with an entire online library of books. So it's like the digital library that students can go to from like the public library, but they're always available. So they can go through different texts. They have them leveled from like for kinder all the way up. And it's a really great opportunity for not only the students in our school, but like their siblings to be able to enjoy a book and share a book. I think every year they add to that library too, a couple hundred different novels and diverse texts. And so that's really cool to bring to students. One of the things I was going to show was just this take on Frankenstein. It's a graphic novel, but with today's day and age and the kids and the way that they learn, I mean, you guys are like, look through, it's pretty cool to look through, but it presents the, age-old material that are wonderful traditional novels, but in a way that students today who are so tech savvy are actually going to go, oh, whoa, this is Frankenstein. I didn't think this one was cool. And so that's something that I think they'll really gravitate towards.
I was really impressed with the mix of like the canonical literature with more modern as well. And it really has a little bit of everything in there. It was the only one we found that had all of those digital novels. We couldn't find anything else that even came close.
Sounds fantastic.
So what we're looking to purchase, hopefully, is 7 years of this curricula and these materials, and within that price that you see in the quote packet, that includes the consumables. So every year you get the new stuff, and then the access to all the online materials. And so that's really good, and we'll have the hard versions too, and so that lives on, but it does sort of put us in that bit of that timeline crunch that publishers are doing now. So at that 7 years, you're looking for the new thing, so you're not 20 years removed trying to get new materials. So that's a piece of this too, of how this will play out over time. So
We have done kind of a K-12 look, and I'll say the jury is still out at K-5. And they purchased more recently. Middle school, I always gauge it by how long I've been here. So this is my 14th year, and you adopted it at least a year before I got there. So at least. And so it's timely to be able to do this. We put money into our ESSER money, our ESSER 3 funds for language arts this year, for math next year. And we did that because our typical general fund amount that we put for $50,000 really can't hit more than school. if we want to look at more of a comprehensive adoption. And so we'll see what elementary chooses to do and how they move forward. If they choose to stay with what they have, or if they choose to move and it isn't this, the conversations are really about how do we begin to align conversation, vocabulary, and information, most specifically across 5th to 6th grade, so that we make sure that if we use one term and Amplify uses another, then we know how to make that transition. And those are the conversations without having to have everybody agree on this is it across K-12. And so those thoughts are going on. The middle school has been the one that's been out there for a while and not been approved. So that just gives you an update on where we are financially, why we did it that way, and kind of we're getting a comprehensive look right now as well. And there's a big value in being able to approve and get materials ordered in here so that you aren't in the summertime planning for and learning about a new piece of material. So you have a chance to get some familiarity with it and before August and be able to move forward. So it's a smart time.
Assuming it's approved tonight, when would you be getting the materials, probably?
I haven't asked the question yet because I wasn't being presumptive, but
Okay.
what we would ask for is by the end of May, is what we would shoot for probably, you know. And then we would actually hope to have a training before folks leave for summer break, at least probably one, and then another training with the coach company in the fall.
They do virtual trainings or do they send people?
I think it's in person, okay, but the other one was virtual, so
Okay.
they'll probably hedge their bets.
So, I think I already know the answer to this, but I just want to verify, this price that's on the price quote is locked for 7 years. There would be no additional costs. Okay. I just know that the price of printed materials is skyrocketing right now, so I just maybe mention that, it might be.
I mean, I nod my head with yes, assuming we're signing a 7-year contract,
Okay.
so as much as those last, yes.
The company doesn't vote.
So are those consumables, the books that you showed us? No, they stay, they're supposed to stay for the 7 years then?
Yes, and then we actually looked up, because this material, this paper tip feels like it's sort of recycled paper quality. So we looked up and what was it? For 25, it was $200. So this actually is relatively cheap in their costs. And it's the online part. They're sort of reversing their where you get your price point. Because everybody wants the online, so they make that more expensive and this is cheaper. But you can't get this unless you purchase the online portion. So.
And when we purchased those materials, did we purchase looking ahead, like, you know, based on enrollment or historical, like say we need 140 this year, but we purchased 160 or 170 or 180, also knowing that some middle school students who shall remain nameless may have not treated their textbooks as well as they could have, and may have had to require a new textbook.
Textbooks aren't going to go home. It's the
No, but even in a class, I mean, yeah, sure.
Right, so when we asked for the quote, I put it each grade level at 120.
Yeah.
Right now, 6th and 7th grade is less than 110 currently. So looking forward to that. And also knowing if we needed to get a few more, the price is quite reasonable. We need more of that. We probably, well, I'd ask Miss Hallie, but we could probably work out a school budget. But.
We have a budget already that is solely for replacement. So we know that if enrollment increases, we're going to need more of something.
Sure. No, just like, I guess I just tend to presume that we know we will. I'm sure we will. And so there's some benefit at some point getting ahead of it so that they're not, oh yeah, we don't make those anymore now, we make these, you know. And gosh darn it, I wish we had 4 more of these. So yeah.
This will pretty well lock us into a 7-year deal that we can't do what we've done in the past and 15 years later be doing the same thing. We'll have to upgrade in 7 years.
Yeah, that's the way it's going now. Same way with our Mac we did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
For that 7-year deal.
Yeah.
So, yep, this is the new
Well,
way of
forever,
doing
It's
business.
a new way of doing it.
well, but for forever, it was a 7-year cycle where every
Well,
7
yeah,
years
it was
we get
supposed
new
to be a
passwords.
7-year cycle,
So,
but
and that's what it used to be. So,
yeah, but
Well, it never went away from that, but so many people got away from that because there was no money.
Yeah.
you just couldn't afford to do it every 7 years, but now you pretty much lock into it that you're gonna have to budget that to do that every 7 years, so, okay. Okay, it's in there for action.
And I'd say if you wanted to move it, you probably could. You could just put it in
Well,
now or-
why don't we just do it now that we're on it?
Sure.
You know, that way then they can either leave with a smile or. So I'd be willing to entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the proposal for the MS language arts adoption as printed in our agenda.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded for the language arts adoption. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Smile on the way out of it.
This was so great.
Thank you for all your work.
Yes, thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, I think I've seen this guy.
Thank you. Here, leave that one up there.
Okay, now we will go back to the
Thank you.
technology annual report.
This in-person thing confused us. We weren't sure what we were doing.
I like it a lot better than the other way.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we just gotta figure out where we're at. Normally have all our technology right here in our fingertips, right? Now we have to, what are we doing? All right, so today we're here to talk about kind of where we've been and what we've been doing and the work that Mark and I and our team have been doing, as well as with Jolene, who has joined our team this year. And we have our update, and the first slide that she's gonna pull up there has a lot to do with the work Jolene and our department and the teachers and the admin have been doing. We have been really working hard. I know she has done an update last meeting, I think that was last meeting, about all the work she's been doing. We definitely work hand in hand on getting things coordinated for the schools, for the teachers. We work together on the rollout of the 8th grade Chromebooks. We're working together on our classroom refresh, working together on the digital literacy campaign, the technology curriculum that we're working on. I have found a great resource with the STEM Hub, the Mid-Valley STEM Hub. And a gentleman named Chris, he has come out, met with Jolene and I last week, and he has a lot of good resources to bring her, as well as the schools and the teachers, to introduce digital literacy and digital citizenship. Those words are not easy to say. So I really wanted to say too how important it is that her position was added. I think we knew how bad we needed it, but we didn't know how bad we needed it until she got here, and we wish that there was more of her. She's doing an amazing job, but she's only one person. So looking at next year, it's really important that we keep her job in the scheme of things and look at how we can build her position and how it is helping and the impact that she's made on the school so far. With our digital citizenship and safety, we have the great free resources online that are helping us. We have planned to have some school maker spaces come into play. We've been talking with the administration at each building about what it looks like in their buildings and what they envision with their teachers and being able to utilize it. We have a commitment from the STEM Hub. They are working with a grant for rural school districts and STEM. And they have decided to partner with us and offer us lots of cool stuff and funding and come in and talk to the teachers, go into classrooms, bring in all different kinds of STEM activities and digital literacy activities, train the teachers on how to use that stuff on a daily basis, doing what they already do, not adding to what they do, but incorporating those activities in with the kids. And it's a commitment of mine and a passion of mine to start this at K, at kindergarten and pre-K when they come. And so we're going to start it at kindergarten and move on up, and each school is developing its plan on how it looks, because we obviously have a building level to start with, and then each year they can learn a little more. By the time they get to 6th grade, they've already gone through K5. So then 6th through 8th can work on establishing another layer of how to be safe, how to be respectful, how to be a responsible digital citizen. And coming from just hearing what is going to be the opportunity for the new language arts curriculum, and there's a big portion of these curriculums that are going online, I think it's imperative that we start as early as we can. So the time they get there, the teachers can actually teach what they're teaching and not how to be on a computer, right? I think that's very important for what the path that we need to go. So working with Jolene, the one-to-one device program that we rolled out for the 8th grade, doing great. We plan on rolling it out to 9th through 12th, as well as 8th grade again next year. We have the devices in hand, and we will be able to provide everybody at 8th through 12th with one. Our first year is going to be a little interesting because we wanted to build 8th grade, and you own it, for the whole year. There's obviously going to be a few things, like we're not going to give seniors a brand new device and turn around and walk away with it, because we're requiring 5 years. We need to have that. So the first year we're going to, have a little blending of what's available and being able to use our resources the best way we can. The other part of this, the district technology PD plan. I have, Mark and I have really been working on getting to the table at the district planning level, where the calendars are set out on what district PD looks like for Fridays, and having technology written in Sharpie and not in dry erase markers. So I think we're long past having that be an important part of what we do and plan for our teachers. We're expecting them to be able to use the technology and be able to follow along on the digital curriculum. It's our responsibility to make sure they understand all that as well. So we will be looking at Susan saying, give us time to focus on a school, because we know there's different school days that have PD, there's a district-wide PD, there can be, a specific topic PD that we can offer. We don't want to make it an optional thing. They don't need to have to choose between social emotional learning and technology. That is not a fair trade. That is not a fair choice. They are both important. So we need to have this in as a solid line on the calendar, and we're prepared. And next year, as we move forward with who is going to be in the digital media specialist position, that will be an important part. Another team thing where we can all go out and support, as well as Stephen and Quinn, support the technology side of that in all the buildings. We're all ready to jump in on that. That is just a fraction of the work that we've been doing with that part of things, but it really is going in a positive direction. I think we have a vision. I think that we feel supported in that vision on both sides, and we just are going to keep getting more support the more we show just how, the reaction from the teachers, the kids, and how important that is for us. So with that, we have our next slide. Some more nerdy stuff.
So one of the things that we're currently working on, and We've gone through the E-rate process, and we actually just got our bids back today, or our first bid back today, is we're talking about our district network firewall, and it's for district network security. And I don't know, it's something that we want to get in place to better secure our student data from the threat of cyber attack. Districts close to home have been hit this year. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but it's kind of a big deal, and they've been hit, and it's not, you know, we keep getting the warnings from LBL, ESB saying, you know, it's not a matter of if you get hit, it's a matter of when you get hit. And so the firewall is one thing to help maintain us and keep us secure. Right now, our firewall is based at LBL, and we just kind of rent their space on it. And we wouldn't be getting rid of that. We would just be putting one in place on our end, help secure things a little bit better. And that is something we've gone through the E-rate process with, and it looks really good. And we've, you know, it's something that'll help us keep our insurance and moving forward to help with case insurance. Along with the security of a firewall, we're looking at doing the Cisa cyber hygiene services. Now, Cisa is the cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency. It's a government agency, and they provide free service. And what they do is they do penetration testing, and they test our network for any sort of vulnerabilities, and they test our data for vulnerabilities. And they give us this assessment, and we can turn around with that assessment and then address issues we have, and that'll help us keep our case insurance as well. It's a free service. We're not going to have to pay for anything, and we're going through the hoops of that right now. And that'll be starting up here in the next month or so. Another thing we're looking at is district device security. So right now, our devices are filtered through iBoss, and right now it's an appliance that's held up at LBL, and all of our devices in our network here on campus are filtered by this program. And what we want to do is we want to finish rolling that out to the rest of the Chromebooks. What we want to do is it's now an app. And so instead of it being filtered just here on campus, the students will be filtered at home as well. We haven't rolled out to the 8th graders already, the devices that went home, but as we continue to roll out more devices, we're going to roll that out to everybody. And it will actually make things simpler on a network level when that's done.
How easy is that to get exceptions? Like I know in the past, when I was still in high school or subbing high school, there were quite often you have an iBoss thing where it would block a site that was a perfectly legitimate site that shouldn't have been blocked. And the teacher had, or there had to be some workaround for it. Is that still?
It's actually gotten way better.
Okay.
It has, the process, if there's something that's blocked, is they submit to us and we go in and make sure everything's cool and make sure that it's good to go, but we get only a handful of those every year. Yeah, it is. I
Used to be
remember.
a bunch.
I remember back in the day, and I think iBoss has gotten a lot better, and their classifications of sites has become more thorough.
Okay.
Yeah, more accurate, I should say.
Along with iBoss, the filtering of the internet and everything, we're looking at the possibility of more Chromebook monitoring for students. And it's something called a product called Goguardian. We're in the process of vetting that right now and getting some trial with it. And what it allows is for remote monitoring of those Chromebooks. So it will allow teachers to log in and see all their class at one time and be able to, stop the children from doing anything and be able to shut the machines down, that sort of thing. We're looking at that right now. There's a couple other options besides Goguardian. It's just the top option at the moment.
Another part of that is there's content filtering, there's monitoring, and then there's flagging. It will search through what the kids put in for their search terms, and so key terms that should alert somebody to the fact that the kid's searching them. There's reports that come out, and they could be issued on a daily, weekly, whatever basis to the counselors and the administrators and anybody else that would need them. And then they can follow up on those to see if it's a class assignment that they were looking up for research, or if there is indeed something that's happening with bullying or the other key terms that get your attention when you're over the shoulder. So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. Gaps uses it. And we've been talking with them, we went and actually met with them and over at their knock and talked to them about how they're using some of these tools. And so we think it's kind of, and it does, there's a parent side to it. The parent can actually log in and see what the kids are doing as well. So it's a very broad scoping app that that has a lot of different benefits.
I'm going to interrupt and tell you that NOC is a network operations center.
Yeah.
But I told them that when I first heard it, I thought it was nerds on call.
Well, that too. That too. Yeah. One of the many acronyms.
So yeah, so a lot of the things that are driving these changes, or a lot of our future endeavors, is insurance-based insurance and the cybersecurity side of things. And so I don't need to keep harping on that. That's just one of the talking points that I keep saying.
That's a good issue.
It is. And so another thing that we're going to be implementing over the next year is two-factor authentication for all staff. Right now, it's not turned on for all staff, but it will be. It's just another layer of security, you know, and it's, we're not implementing these things to make things harder for anybody at all. We're doing it because we have to, so they're saying. But other things besides that, you know, we're looking at a district-wide network monitoring software, which basically monitors all our essential services. So like our share drives, our network switches, our access points, our servers. And it's just a piece of software that monitors all that, and it'll alert us if anything goes down or if there's any sort of issues. Right now, it's all kind of piecemeal together because they all sort of alert us in different ways, and this would just be one centralized communication thing. So we're testing that out. We've got a couple different versions that we're testing out, and finally, one of the things that we're looking that we'll have to plan for in the future is in the next few years. So we did this refresh on our access points throughout the whole district, and we started at the high school several years ago. And so that'll be the first school that'll need to be revamped. And we'll have to do that in about 2 years. 2 years time, we'll have to do 48 access points at high school. But then after that, it'll be a few years after that before we have to plan for anything else. So that's, I kind of have going on.
Hey, you have any questions?
I got a
So far,
question.
yeah.
Gonna show how little I know about this. When you say you're upgrading the security things and whatnot, will that make it harder for the teachers to get on and do their job, or is that gonna be something operating in the background that they won't really have to mess with?
Are you talking, it depends on what you're talking about. Two-factor authentication is one step that makes you have to verify who you are. It doesn't make it harder for them. It's just
One extra step.
it's an extra step that is a necessary step, that one in particular. But it's the old saying of convenience and security don't live in the same house. And right now we got to jump in the house of security because that's what we got to do. And so little things like that will start happening.
Yeah, I get that part of it, but I guess my question was more to some of your other stuff that you have running.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, that they're not really gonna have to deal with it, and it'll be in the background and they won't know anything, they're just gonna keep doing what they've been doing.
Yes.
But the security portion of it will be upgraded.
yes.
Okay, yeah,
And
that's,
some of the things will actually make their job easier.
okay.
The ability, especially with the classroom full of Chromebooks, the ability to be able to use one of our security tools to log in and see what their kids are doing is going to be a great tool for them to use. So, you know, some of this, the monitoring and things like that will help, and the other stuff kind of just happens in the background and it prevents it from going south for them as they're using it.
With your two-factor, I mean, like right now on some of my sites, like financial sites, it's like you log in and then they'll want to send you a text or an email or whatever for that second factor. I know back in the day, and hopefully that I'm sure this isn't an issue anymore, but I would, you know, send an email to either from or to the school district account. And sometimes it would take 5 to 15 minutes before it would come through. That doesn't happen
No, it's
anymore.
pretty quick. And most of the time you choose the text message
Well, yeah.
or the notification that comes through on your phone, and then you don't even have to have an email.
Right.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool different two-factor
Okay.
now, yeah.
And your firewall protection, you're gonna add a protection at the school as well as LPSD, limit ESD?
LPLESD has one already.
Yeah.
And so we're just gonna be adding one to that on our end. So we'll be filtering the internet that comes from LPL, and we'll be filtering the internet that leaves us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, just an extra lock on the door.
Okay,
One that we can control, you know?
okay.
Yep.
Like I say, technology is not my.
No,
thing.
you have very good questions. I mean, you know, and we need to know what you don't understand, so we do appreciate that you ask.
Yeah, but you're not gonna have two separate systems where something can go in between and, you know, you'll tie right in with theirs.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I got it.
Yep.
Next slide.
And, oh, sorry, Peter.
No,
Okay.
I have just two quick
Oh, sure.
questions. With the one-to-one, in fact, we're going from one grade, which I guess would be ninth grade, so they already have them, but adding 4 instead of 1. Are we then confident we'll be able to maintain next year adding a grade and the following year adding a grade from a monetary perspective?
Yes, so what we have the breakdown of where the Chromebooks lie and where they're going to expire. So as we give seniors, they, you know, we're gonna give them the ones that expire the soonest.
Right.
And we have almost 2,000 devices at this point.
Okay, no,
And
yeah,
so, yeah, so we're conscious of what that looks like, and in a couple of years, you know, within the next 2 years, we'll probably have to look at getting a few, like, we
Sure.
don't need any major purchases anytime soon.
perfect, yeah, I just wanna make sure we weren't getting like, so great, we got 5, but now we kind of got away from our 8th grade and and take it with you to the end plan. I wanna make sure we were setting ourselves up for success.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
They'll get the new ones. Actually, the 8th graders this year, the pilot that they have are ones that were ending at the end of this year anyway, and they were expiring, so they would have to be disposed of.
Got it.
They get to keep these and then they go home with them and never come back. And then next year, the 8th graders will get some of the new ones that we got with the grant, and then the 9th graders get some, and then
Perfect. And then for the wireless access points, is there a consideration, I don't know how much wireless access point costs, but I imagine if it's, you know, some money and we have to do 40, some of them, it's gonna be a considerable sum. Is there a opportunity, I don't know if we have the skills and abilities with our on-site staff to swap out those, but is there ability to do 5 or 10 a year and have it be similar to the Chromebook as opposed to waiting a couple of years and having that big capital infrastructure doing just this perpetual, we buy 10 to 20 a year forever, you know?
Well, I mean, we could do that. The problem is with the 48, they expire in 2 years.
Right.
So we have to do
some version of that.
Some version of that anyway. But yeah, we could look at spacing out our access points for the entire district and doing it on like a cyclical sort of.
And I mean, you're just a consideration in other aspects of my professional life where it's like, hey, we just say, hey, we're gonna buy 10 a year, no matter what, we're just always cycling them out. Certainly some will fail even prior to expiration. So just a consideration, because I know that these things come to the board, then you got, hey, we got this huge chunk of change we need to versus a smaller amount.
A little bit.
Always.
Well, we're trying to actually get ourselves on a cycle more like that, which is like with the laptops. PHS was the first, you know, school to get the laptops. So in another couple years, PHS will be the place that we have to replace them, and then PMS, and then, you know, the other schools. And the same with our access points. We did it in stages, and so it'll be replaced in stages.
Sure.
And we will squeeze every dollar we can
Yes, sure.
out of them.
Sure, yes.
There will be nothing left on the table, and even if that means that we have to order some access points a little early, if at the end of our E-rate cycle, we have to get them. So yes, we will be looking at that and having them, and we will probably keep them and not license them yet until the other ones go out. So we're not paying double licensing, you know, but yeah, so we're definitely conscious of trying to get a little here and get a little there. Spread it out.
Okay.
Okay, one last slide. Our progress. So just to give you some updates on some of those big ticket things that we have asked for and completed. The cameras are great out there. We have them up and running, and the schools can all monitor them and look at them individually and decide what they need. As we go through, that was kind of phase one, where phase two might have a few more cameras that we need to add when a staff member or the admin didn't realize, hey, this corner was somewhere we really need to get an eye on. We'll be able to add one at a time here and there as we need to go. So we're going to build on that. We have done all the switches in the district.
Yes.
And we have done APs. All of them have been replaced throughout the district. So that's access points. Yeah. Those have all been done. We are keeping in mind the refresh for the laptops, the Chromebooks, the access points, the things like that. It's a good while out before the switches all go and they're a good chunk of time out. You guys won't be on the board when we're having to consider this most likely. The other thing that we're doing is having to go through and look at the classroom technology. It's been a conversation every year that I've been here. This is year 8. And we have gone through and done a great trial with the teachers, and we settled on 2 technologies to look at. One is a projection device that connects to a television, and the other is that television that we've used in our one of our last meetings, the clear touch panels. And we are looking at starting to roll those out this year and next year and the next year. It's kind of a 3-year rollout that we're looking at for those. The teachers actually participated in a trial on all of them. They went to training on them as well and actually kind of voted. The administrators actually got to go in and observe, and they weighed in on it. So we surveyed the whole district and found what we think will work best. We work with the vendors that assure they can provide training, which again, we will need the time for, which we will be knocking at her door for. So that I think the classroom technology refresh that we have planned will allow us to put new technology in, also to have technology that hasn't quite expired yet, be able to replace the stuff that is currently going. So we can not waste the money that we have already spent on our projectors and things like that. They can go into the older ones as we pull them out. We will have some and not have to purchase more of those, fingers crossed. Not that we could get them since China shut down. But we're being very conscious of trying to utilize what we still have, as well as being able to cycle in the new wave.
I know the smart boards are essentially obsolete, but are they still working?
Most of them.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't get any more of them.
Sure.
So as we pull down those, they will go in storage until one goes out, and then we can, just kind of cycle those out as well. Although those have long since used their years as far as money.
That's part of the process that we're looking at, just really because of the failure of smart boards and smart technology is not going to go forward and keep up. And so how do we plan protocol for as those die off?
Yep. The thing that we're going to have to look at next is the security and door locking system. That's the key entry and the program that poor Lillian uses to actually program the keys is from 1986 or something like that. And it's really old. And the guy that comes in to change like the times and things, and it's crazy. But one cool thing is the vendors that we got, the vendor that we got the cameras from, as well as the intercom system that is going well in all the schools except PHS because they're not there yet. It's all, we can integrate it. So we can work to have one system that when you unlock a door, a camera turns on, or when, you know what I mean? Like it can all work together in the school. And we will be looking at that, and potentially for the next school year, that should be in our budgeting. We should really look at getting replacement started for those.
The keys, those are the cards.
Yeah.
Card key. I don't think they go back to 86 because I think.
Okay, I might have been exaggerating just a little, right?
When we updated something at 4, so
But
not quite that far, but it's close.
But we have to use an IE7 compatibility mode, which I'm not sure what, it's like one of those ones that is.
Explorer 7, that's 10 years old,
Oh,
15 years old.
Yeah. So we have to have an add-on that's, but anyway, that it's just one of those things that it's time for it, and we will be working with maintenance on that. We'll be working with Joey on how that looks and what needs to happen and where we want key entry, where we, those kinds of different things. It'll be a group process, but we will take the lead on getting vendors in and prices and quotes and seeing what's available out there. And I think that is about it. We have a lot going on, other than I am now on the STEM Hub board of executives, and I am in a team, an action team for STEM. And I'm working really closely with the CTE part of the STEM Hub as well. So I really do hope to bring some resources and some funding and some opportunities for the teachers, for the students, and the district as a whole. They really want to partner with us on this rural STEM grant, because they want to create a model on how to have a pathway from K through 12, and then on up. It's actually K through 20, I think they say now, or pre-K through 20, P through 20, or something like that, is all the way up. So that is a big focus here for me, one of my passions, and I go speak on women in STEM and women in technology. I got invited to a conference in Boise, which you guys okay? So I'm going to be going to speak with a bunch of people about how to be a chick and rock it in the nerd world. So, and how that is going to be good for here. And working with Nicole Stevie, with her partnership with OECC and having college credit classes in computer science. And actually Nick Trainee came up and told me how great it was. Back before COVID started, I had gotten us going with 3D printing in the engineering program at that 7th and 8th grade level. And he came to me and fist bumped me and said, hey, so your students from a couple years ago saved my bacon. They showed me and my students how to use the 3D printers that we got them and how to actually do the slicer, and they go around and help other students. So the pathway I envisioned a few years ago actually gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. It's happening. And I really want to keep it going. So that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Good. Very good report and very educational to me. So.
Good. Do you guys have any questions for us? I know there's a lot of information. I hope you could actually digest it, though. It was in good words for you. That's a big stride for us.
I'm just impressed at how technology really filters into every single aspect of our school. I mean, when you're talking about the staff, the students, the faculty, the facilities, like it's just amazing, like how over encompassing all these moving parts are for you.
And we have now 4 people.
Sounds like plenty.
I'm super excited. When I started, there was 2. And I was so no, but there are 4 of us, and I can't give enough shout outs, both of us, to our techs. They have blown us away, and the staff away. Our response time on tickets is amazing. Like they're out and everywhere, and
every school.
The cohesion in our department is insane, and I'm super pleased with that. Yeah. And working with him is pretty cool.
Well, that shows, yes. One of the shout outs for me is you'll notice in this report that it has a nice blend of instructional connections for teachers and students, and the background look to infrastructure and cyber protection that I've really hoped for in being able to make sure it wasn't just about acquisition of stuff, and without some purpose to be able to know why we're doing that. And between Jennifer and the 4 tech team people and Jolene and myself, we meet once a week via Zoom just to have conversations, and sometimes they're 15 minutes and sometimes they're an hour. And it's just kind of updating what all the connections are and what's happening. So for me, it's really become about technology for the educational purpose being real clear. And I appreciate this group for really making that very clear to everybody.
We're definitely trying.
Yeah.
And like it.
Yeah.
They like to come here.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's awesome. So, Okay, well, thank you guys.
Thank you for your time.
Very good report. Thank you.
We actually look forward to it. To let you know what we're doing.
You're leaving?
I'm gonna watch it now.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do the whole.
Yeah. I just got to-
Hey, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm getting to.
You as well.
Everybody, what? Moving right along, KBCS charter agreement.
Not much to report on that. I wanted to keep it on the agenda until we get things finalized.
Sure.
There are a couple of, I mean, and like we've said before, there's no desire to say, nope, we're not gonna do a charter. Right now, it's really taking a look at a couple of things. One of those is making sure that the charter language is clear and that we don't have any of the either party not understanding what something says, because it's been adjusted over a 20-year time period. And it's just been edited from there to a place where some things just don't make sense. And so we want to make them agreeable and understandable to everybody. So they have requested a charter for 10 years. In 10 years, who's going to be around to be able to take a look at that and understand what the processes and protocols are or were? And we want to make sure that's clear. And we're also having a conversation that's pretty specific right now to special education and really trying to get clear on that. And so it's just nuancing and fine tuning some things together, but we continue to have conversation. There's nothing that's saying, hold the presses, stop the phone. It's just being able to get things fine tuned.
Do we have a deadline for this?
In theory, we've basically approved the charter. It expires June 30th. And so we really need to get there. And so the hope is that by April, we'll have, my hope is that we'll be able to reach some final agreement at that point. So I don't think we're that far off. It's just really wanting to make sure we take the time to do it right.
Any other questions on that? All right, ready school safe learners, the mask mandate status, and there's a letter on page 7.
I also would like to request if the board, another piece of this is an update to our, and I put copies on the table, the safe return to in-person instruction. Those things need to be updated every 6 months, and I didn't have the opportunity to get it on the webpage. Didn't want the projection to be the only way we looked at it. So that's why I did it, because I highlighted some things in it. So what I'd like to start out with is, you have the letter in your packet, and this was the letter that was sent, to families on March 3rd. And it in essence said on March 13th, almost 2 years, 2020, almost 2 years ago, we closed for COVID. And it also stated in alignment with the recommendations from the Benton County Health Department, the Oregon Health Authority, and the Oregon Department of Education, effective March 12th, 2022, face coverings will be optional in the following school districts. This will include travel on school buses. So this was the information that went to families following our information from Benton County Health Department. So we've talked about it and have gone through all pieces and parts of it. So this is where we landed. Wanted to put it out there to have an opportunity because I've worked with each of you, because I can't work with all of you, to share information so that we can't have a meeting outside this forum. And so wanted to be able to make sure that we had the board's thoughts and feelings and information on this decision, so that we can be clearly transparent about where we stand. Before we talk about that, what I'd like to do is share with you one of the other report segments. That is the update just came out to the resiliency framework that they're using with the Department of Education. We've been looking at Benton County metrics for a long time, and they used these last year to make determinations about whether or not you could stay in school. And one of the things that we've got now is we've got 80% of Benton County vaccinated. This report I pulled up today had 109 cases per 100,000, which is down significantly. And we're at a 3.9% test positivity, which is the lowest it's been probably since the fall. So we are starting to see numbers change. The CDC, one of the things I heard was somebody said, well, the CDC says that you don't have to wear face coverings inside anymore. One of the pieces that CDC also put out was recommendations for consideration. And so they've put out by each state a county map that has a low, a medium, or a high measure. At the time in early March, we went out to the community and said, this is our decision to be able to make masking optional in the Philomath School District. We were in a CDC ranking of high. And so if you look at high, it says the recommendation is to wear a mask indoors in public, stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccines, get tested if you have symptoms, additional precautions may be needed. But that was a big piece of Benton County saying we may choose to continue face coverings in Benton County. So we had to listen to a lot of that and a lot of the recommendations. Since that time, as of today, we are low. So I pulled up the county map from today, and you'll notice that all these green areas of which Benton County is in the green are right now in a low risk community or low risk county. The yellows are medium risk, and these oranges are high risk. So this continues to be updated by the CDC. CDC says you don't have to follow that because it's a local decision, but here's our recommendations. And so those are some things that we continue to look at and continue to look at with the Benton County Health Department to be able to see where we stand. We've also had conversations about how do we get specific about the Philomath community and some things like that. So this has been another piece of the puzzle that even though had been seeing and hearing from early March a number of communities across the country taking masks off, there was this other piece of consideration we wanted to put out there as well. I put in our information from last week. You'll notice that we had no positive cases across the district last week. We had 3 cases the week prior. So noticeably in our schools, our case counts have been lower. And so we are following along to be able to see that. The information about the face coverings really is the administrative rule or the permanent rules are still in place. Those never got rescinded. What happened is those were relaxed, but if we ever have to go back in that direction for any reason, the rule is still there. And so that's the thing to remember, that the rule is still there. We're just outside that at this point. And we could continue to stay outside it at this point, and this could become a non-issue. But we have to be thoughtful and aware of it. What else? Oh, one of the things I put in the letter that I sent to our staff today and I sent to families this evening is the Oregon Health Authority has sent to each school district who receives Title I funds, of which we are one of those, free test kits. And so what we are doing is in our K-5 classrooms, our K-5 schools, we will be putting a test kit in each child's backpack to be able to allow them to take it home for spring vacation. And we're telling families if they don't want them, they can return them to the school office. But that was easier than trying to say, come in and pick one up or something else like that. At our middle and high school, that shifted in that there's not always backpacks and all kinds of things like that. And so the decision was to tell families they are available at the school. And students could pick them up or parents could pick them up. And so our hope is to be able to get those out in ahead of spring vacation. And so if people are uncertain and want to use a test kit, they could have one available. So we have those on hand. And so now it's just a matter of making sure they're distributed. The other part of this that I want us to talk through is the safe return to in-person instruction and the continuity of services plan. We have to update those and send them to ODE every 6 months. And so March 30th is our deadline. And we met as a group on December 9th and had some updates there. And then the rest of it was just waiting on the mask protocol and some things like that to be able to make sure we could be clear. So I will walk through those proposed changes with you, but wanted to be quiet for a minute and give you the opportunity to kind of weigh in on where you are and thoughts and comments as far as the mask mandate and where we are.
All I'll say is I'm just glad we don't have to wear them anymore right now.
And some of that was the pretty common commentary I got from families.
Sure.
And from some students. I got some of the most wonderful pieces of information of thank you, school districts, for what you've been doing and for looking out for us. And as you make this decision, I just want to give you this information if it will help you in any way, shape, or form make your decision. Nothing, it wasn't pushy, it wasn't any of those kinds of things. It was very respectful and very thoughtful from some families and from some students. It was just really nice to be able to receive that kind of input.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to work through all these details and work with our local health authority to come up with the best decision for our school district. I know you put a lot of thought into it, and I just want to publicly say I support your decision to move forward like this, and hopefully we can continue to bring kids to school without masks if they choose. And to thank you, because I know this has not been easy. There's always going to be people on the other side that are not happy with the right way.
As I pointed out, when you reached out to us, the one thing we want to be really aware of is in the schools, and administration, teachers, whatever, to make sure there is no shaming for those that do choose to continue wearing masks for whatever reason. And because that's really where my wife has to continue wearing a mask all the time because she's in healthcare. So it's like, you know, there are still people, and there are people that are immunocompromised, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just, there's still a lot of issues out there. We want to make sure that we're not in any way shaming anybody.
Yeah,
for their choices.
We've been really clear that if you wear a mask, you're entitled. If you don't wear a mask, you're entitled. And we respect the decisions that each individual is going to make about where they are. The other thing that we've put out there is to be able to recognize individual and family decisions. So saying, for instance, if your family has made a determination that mask wearing is what you need to do, honor that connection with your family. And I mean, so it's really about saying, don't just throw it out. We know that we don't have the horsepower to be able to memorize every student whose family wants them to continue to wear a face covering and make sure it happens at all times. We're going to do our best to be able to monitor, but it's also being able to tell students that it's okay if they choose or if their family has made decisions that a face covering is still acceptable for them or not. And so we've had principals and teachers being able to share in classrooms why I choose to wear a face covering or not. And so, you know, Brent Belleville at the high school shared with students in an announcement. Sometimes you'll see me with it, sometimes you won't, and here's why. And others have done that as well, which has been a nice touch for students and others to be able to hear in a respectful way why people have made choices. The other thing that we've tried to be real clear about is, for the first time in a long time, we're going to be back in nonverbal communication. So how do I read that as somebody saying something to me, and how do I express that? And being able to make that clear instructionally, whether those match or don't. And so it's really a learning opportunity to be really out there with what does nonverbal communication mean. And it's really easy to say, well, we all know that. But to make it overt and out there is has been really good. Anything else before I head to the plan?
No.
Thank you. The plan is really pretty much the same in general. What you will see in it is I put any of the information that was new in blue and then crossed out things that weren't relevant. So
We didn't get the color, so, but I can see it.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought I copied them in color. Bummer.
That's all right.
So on page 5, in the center column at the bottom, I put in the information about our award of the OEA Choice Trust for staff relationship building and supports.
Right.
And in the other column is the note that when we met in December, some of the committee members had hoped to receive more direct guidance for specific student activities having to do with social emotional learning. They wanted the stuff and more guidance in that way. So I wanted to honor and note the information from our committee to be able to make sure that those things were reflected. On page 6, at the top in the middle column, second bullet, I changed the language to say coordinate communication and partnership, because we're looking this spring at being able to make sure that we get together with Benton County Mental Health, Trillium, Old Mill, and a couple of those places, and really look at how do we do business together. And so it's more about now our conversation. They're not just our partners or our partners in a book. They're our partners that we really need to work at service for. Communicating to families in preferred languages. Page 8, bullets 5 and 6. We have staff and volunteer vaccination protocols in place, and that's changed since the first of the year. And the information about, with the support of our local public health agency, optional face coverings as of today, Monday, March 14th. And so it recognized the change in the mask information as well as the vaccination protocols. Page 10 in the center column just updates the vaccination clinics we've done. We've hosted 10 so far, and we've got 3 more on the schedule. One of them is tomorrow at Clements Primary School. The other 2 are placeholders at this point in time. If we've reached a saturation point of vaccinations, we won't have the events. One of the other things is the possibility of approval of students 6 months through 4 years. And if that's approved, those clinics in April and May will happen.
Do we have any sense of how many students are vaccinated at this point?
That's one of the things that we're trying to work at with Benton County Health.
Okay.
And we're trying to find out if without a lot of staff time, There are some people, some families who have submitted vaccine cards for their kids, and our nurses are noting that in their vaccination information, but we've not requested it of them. And so it would be either, my guess is us giving permission to Benton County Health to look through their information and make sure they know which kids are ours and figure that out, or us looking through some of their database. So we don't know the specifics yet, but that's what we're looking at. The other information on page 10 in that third column, when we started this, the age was 15 and older, and now we're 5 years and older, so that changed also. On page 11, again, it was the indoor masking that we made changes to, that the masks were coming off. I also put in there promoting respect for individual decisions about face coverings. So whether choosing to wear or not, either choice is respected, and that masks remain available in the school. So we wanted to really work on that no shaming. The universal face coverings and correct use, took that out. The physical distancing and cohorting, with the exception, we had said at the beginning of the year that there would be on page 12 at the bottom, an open campus at Holmes High School, with the reminder that face coverings must be worn when physical distancing cannot be maintained. Took out that last part, and the campus has continued and will continue to be open. The only other piece of the puzzle that did anything was we had to put in a section about the individualized COVID recovery services. This is something that we have resources for that are about unfinished learning specific to our special education students. And we have, thanks to the work of Don Dorman, set up our individual COVID recovery services, where families have been reached out to. They have an opportunity to be able to access another learning experience. We didn't want to take kids out of their existing learning. And so we knew that we were going to wait till spring to know where the dust settled a little bit. So we have 5 Friday afternoons planned for those students whose parents have opted them in for opportunities to participate in a COVID recovery service program for 2 hours on 5 Friday afternoons beginning in early April. And so those students specific to their IEP will receive service and support, where we've got a teacher in place to be able to oversee that, and we'll have instructional assistants to be able to support. And so this last page is really about, these last 2 pages address that as a new component that we needed to put in order to be in compliance with what the state needed. So that's the quick version of the updates that we wanted to be able to put in to be able to share.
Thank you.
So questions, comments, and this is something that if there's agreement, I'd like to have a vote of approval, please.
Okay.
I make a motion, I move that we approve the American Rescue Plan elementary temporary SR plan as presented by Superintendent Collins.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Awesome, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your attention to communication and information in times when I reached out, so that we could make a good decision and continue with it.
Okay, number 3, the calendar update.
That was about the Juneteenth. I wanted to make sure that that was on the docket for this time. And so, as I shared in the in my report, that it really doesn't affect our 190-day employees, that I would like to, for this year, offer it as a day off for all of our individuals that work over 190 days, and work out an agreement for those people working in summer school in June that would like that recognized, and that we would do so as a non-contract experience to allow them to recognize the holiday and then come to work within that. And then I will come back to you with 22, 23 in the future.
Thank you. Language arts instructional material, we've already done that. We'll move to the local option levy.
And that was to say, I'm already in September. And so if we have an August deadline for a title and September deadlines for ballot measure language and amounts and things like that, what I'd like to do is get us started in conversation. I believe we have time to be able to reach out to our community, to be able to see where we are in terms of a level of support. And I know that the last time we did this, there was a pact that was formed. And so really I wanted to be able to ask for commentary from the board that says, are there people that would like to, are there board members who would like to volunteer? Are there specific suggestions you have as we proceed and move forward? I just want to keep it on our radar so that it doesn't get to be June and we close up shop for the summer, or sort of, and we don't have all the information we need or want.
Is there a board member that wants to kind of take the lead on this? Karen, you do?
That was a shake of the no. My memory had been tipped a little bit when I did that. No, I unfortunately do not have the bandwidth to do this.
I don't have the skills to do this. We went through it before, when I was on the board before, and I will say I'm not qualified to do this. I'll be glad to help where I can.
I can help.
But
I
am not a lead person for this type of activity.
I'll have to think about some of the classified negotiations, which will be starting up before too long, and that will take, I know, a lot of the time, so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And if somebody knows a member of the community that could, you know, kind of take the lead on this, I mean, I think we could use that.
Like the Jim Kildare was a pretty big push.
Well, that's who I was thinking of.
And so maybe we can pick on, I'll pick on Jim.
You want to reach out to Jim
Yeah,
and see?
I'll pick on Jim, but
Okay.
that's kind of, those are the kinds of things I wanted tonight, was just to be able to know who do we need to reach out to, and what do I can gauge what I need to do in terms of putting together plan information. You know, we're going to reach out to the community in this way, or however we need to do that, so that I can be reporting back in a timely manner, but keeping things on track for us.
Do you still have all the information from the previous time we did the levy? I mean, how much of that could be reused in terms of wording and title? And...
My guess is there's a fair amount that could be reused. We have to look at amount, but yeah, there are pieces of it that I know we could.
As long as we don't change the amount that we want to levy, I think probably the majority of it can be reused.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of a rubber stamp of what we already have.
The idea, at least from what I remember, as we discussed this a little bit, is that the idea, unless the community supports a lot more, was to sort of just try to keep the level at what it is. I mean, it's not, rather than dropping down, just keep it at what when the one expires, basically renew it at that same level was sort of the thought.
Right, and the intent of that was, in the last time, we broached it with the community as a, we don't want to cut programs. Because
Keep the program.
We were in a place where there were a lot of things that were potentially on the block at that point in time. And so that's the other piece of it, is that really our intent in doing so? And then that gives Jennifer and I a task also to be able to make sure we're looking at, you know, what does that really mean? Because we were pretty clear in laying out what will we lose if this levy doesn't pass.
Yeah.
So.
and I think we stay with that, and I think we stay with the dollar amount that we have now, because the way things are right now, and the families and being stressed out with the price of gas and food and everything else going up. I think it's gonna be a hard enough sell to keep what we have.
I don't think it'll be a hard sell to keep what we have. But
Well,
if we increase it, I think it definitely would be. a
Well,
hard
it's
sell.
gonna be hard enough. It's,
Sure, sure.
You know, there's gonna be a lot of people that just says, hey, I can't afford it, you know, and we have to be respectful of that, you know, there is some families that are struggling more than others, you know, in this time right now, so. But they also have to realize that, you know, we gotta have a good educational program to keep the kids educated, so. Kind of double-edged sword. So yeah, if you wanna visit with Jim and see if he'd be willing to.
Or if he
take
has
the lead on that.
suggestions, if he's not.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on local option levy? Okay, action items, we've already taken care of one, the language arts adoption. PHS boiler replacement bid approval.
So I have the documents on that, you have them in your packet too. The high school boilers unfortunately are failing. It's been known for the last 2 years that they were on their way out in the inspection this year. So we talked to the inspector and confirmed that the failure is imminent on one of them, and so the replacement of both of them is warranted. They weren't, I guess the highest quality when they were installed in the beginning.
Was that what they installed with the remodel 10 years ago or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so they're 11 years old.
11 years old.
Joey has gotten bids for replacement from local companies and for some much more efficient boilers with a 25-year heat exchanger warranty. So higher quality, which equates to a little bit higher cost, but he's confident that the bids that came in are good bids. The only problem is they're 22 to 24 weeks out on the order. So our approval today is for a purchase that will be in the next budget year, but we need to get it approved now so we can commit to the project. And for this one, we have funds set aside that we've gotten from the public person, I can't even say it, public purpose charge schools program instead of bill 1149 money. So this one should not come out of general fund dollars because it's an energy efficiency upgrade. So we have money set aside for that. So this one, we just need approval with your consent to be able to go ahead and commit to this project. We had 4 bids come in, and Joe's confident that the lowest bid is a good company, good quality.
Okay. We need a motion, or is there? Do you need more discussion, Rick? Or?
Yeah, I don't have that in my packet for some reason.
It's page 22. It's down there.
Yeah, the first, it got updated with the second packet. I have some questions. Do you want me to wait for discussion?
No, go ahead.
Okay. How did we have an engineer of any kind help us settle on design? And K&M series are very strong boilers, but I just want to make sure that probability that we have an engineer on staff is low. So, you know, having someone who says, yes, this is ideal for our usage, you know, I presume they're a condensing boiler, you know, and that how we use them will not lead to either a low bid or, you know, 10, 12-year lifespan instead of, you know, 15 more. So
The engineering question is a good one, and I don't know for sure. I know Joey has worked with the consultant and the inspectors to come up with the best plan.
Because I will say, me personally, I'm willing to spend, if we're going to be spending close to 200K, spending another 5 to 7K to get some professional stamped engineer to say, yep, I agree with this plan. I think it's good, and that this is, that they're an independent, I guess, person, and they may also, and this will be a repeat question for the roof, but they may also be able to provide some, I'm going to call it commissioning or commissioning agent post installation to say, yep, they were installed right. You know, installed, well, and then all the things you paid for, you got. So that would be a piece that I would, I guess, be willing to approve as a board member to ensure that our $200,000 investment is has an independent third party. Now, again, I don't know what that number would be from a cost perspective, so maybe cost prohibitive, but I would think that it would be within the realm of reasonable amount.
Understandable.
Does that not happen when the state inspects them?
So typically, the state inspector will come, they have to put it through a series of tests, basically, to make sure it's not gonna be a hazard, sure, you know, that it's still functioning properly, all those things, that it's not, you know, burning too much natural gas, some of those things. And so they will help and they'll suggest, but they're not, that's not their role, to kind of tell you what to get or that it's installed, you know, some of those, we still inspect it to say, yes, it was inspected to code, but there are some pieces beyond that with regards to the level of quality and some of those pieces that. And then a commissioning agent typically is the one who's going to run through all its cases and say, yep, you're getting the true 95% commission efficiency, whereas the inspector will say, yep, it's running. It's not gonna blow up, you know, the low water cutoff works, you know, but they're not gonna say, yeah, you're getting the efficiencies that you should out of it, I guess. If that makes sense.
That could be separate from this though, right?
It may be, I don't know exactly, and it may be cost prohibitive, I don't know, but it just seems like it might be worth quick.
I appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. No, now that I've got all of the information in my work packet, the new boilers have a 25-year heat exchange warranty. Did the old boilers have any kind of warranty on them, or does anybody know?
I think it was a 10-year warranty.
Yep.
Okay.
We're just past it.
Okay. Well,
And if you're talking about insurance and.
Yeah, talked with insurance and they're not, it wasn't covered.
yeah, and then I really struggle sometimes with the bid system that Oregon has, that you have to use the low bid. Because I know there's been times in the past that we've had to use the low bid and it is what it is. It's not what it should be. You know, person ends up going back and redoing some things that actually in the long run may cost them more money, but I just, there's a substantial amount between the low bid and the next three bids. You know, especially the middle two are fairly close. I'm assuming that due diligence has been done to make sure that the bid A is going to be what we need.
That's my understanding from what Julie says. We've gotten some references from other districts that have used the same company.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just hate the thought of, you know, getting midstream and then, you know, going, oh man, you know, they really didn't look at this, but I guess once we're there, they're kind of stuck on what they bid. If it costs them more money, it just comes out of their pocket, so. And I hope they don't cut corners to make up, no, I'm serious.
No, I hear you, I do.
You know,
There were some corners cut in the high school remodel.
I know that's exactly what I'm referring to, so.
But that comes back to the specification, you know, to make sure that we made our specification
What they needed,
ironclad.
yeah.
I say, great, if you don't, you can bid to whatever you want, but you gotta do it exactly as
Yeah.
we put in our spec. And so,
Yeah.
that's the piece where I guess I was just hoping that we had perhaps some consulting to make sure our specification was ironclad, and then someone was double checking to make sure the specification before it was actually followed.
And you have a lot more experience at this than I do, so.
Certainly would.
Good. Okay, so, is there any more discussion on this? I would be willing to entertain a motion that we.
Yeah, I move that we approve the RFP for the high school boiler replacement. That's in our packet.
I'll second.
With bid A, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Here to the top. And hey, this even looks different. The CPS roofing bid approval, page 24.
The roof was repaired in 2013.
20 years ago.
And that repair has lasted this long, but it sounds like there's still significant damage and possibility for further damage if we don't do the replacement. So this was Joey's recommendation to use the third-party Garland company to solicit the bid request for it.
So we put out 3 bids and we got 2 back, and there's a huge difference between those 2 bids.
There is a huge difference.
Yeah.
I'm going with Joey's recommendation on this. We're going with the All-American Roofing Building. Or if you see that, because that's in the Garland, with bid A.
And a 30-year warranty roof.
It's a flat roof, so it will be a membrane replacement. Flat roofs in Oregon, but on school buildings, that's what happens.
Well, if I remember right, the primary school also has some valleys in it, doesn't it? It's not just flat, it actually has valleys that is the problem. You know, where you yeah, why anybody would ever build a roof like that, I have no idea.
Put the valleys over the library.
Yeah.
There's books in there.
Yeah. So, okay, is there any more discussion on this one?
I haven't seen, I guess, questions and concerns, but even more concerned personally for this one, given the vast difference between the 2 quotes.
Yeah.
You know, the others were within a reasonable percentage. These are, gosh, not 50%, but you know, 60%, 65%. But what I think I understood is that we utilized Garland as our, I guess, you know, roofing consultant effectively to create the specification and put it out.
Right.
And then these are the quotes that we got back. And then is this just for the flat roof, or do we know if this is also for the metal pitched roof?
I believe it's just the flat roof.
Yeah,
The
that's,
membrane portion.
yeah, that's what I understood reading through it, but I didn't see any metal flat, metal replacement. Yeah. So I guess that's just my.
You almost wonder if the other one didn't completely, thought that maybe they were replacing the metal also or something. I mean, what the huge discrepancy.
It is, it's a huge difference.
But it's a reputable company, and we had the, you know, I just.
If you'd like to have more feedback from Joey on the process, we could request more information from him. I don't pretend to know enough about facilities projects to be able to speak about it all.
Yeah, and again, I think for me, it just comes down to confidence that we have a specification and a, you know, I believe, again, that Garland would be the third-party contractor who would ensure that the roofing is being installed to specification, so that's their.
Part of it is providing their own 30-year warranty. So.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're getting the warranty from, I mean, I certainly think, I guess I would encourage our facilities department and district to look closely at what that 30-year warranty provides us. Because that, and then we retain it, because that also sometimes you see this. I know we got a warranty around here somewhere, you know, and the other piece, unfortunately, that you see in the roofing industry, although, you know, Garland's been around a long time, is sometimes they go out of business. So I think that's the piece that I would want to make sure we're getting is a warranty, I guess, both from the roofing contractor and from Garland if possible. And a double covered, I guess.
Well, and not only a 30-year warranty, but a lot of times the warranties
Yes.
ratchet down
Yep.
as the years go on, and then at year 29, you don't have much of a warranty left. I mean,
Or 15.
It's like when you buy
Yep.
tires.
Yep.
yeah.
I also have some concerns around the clarifications and exclusions section. There's a lot of things that are excluded. That I would expect to see included, at least the permitting, I would think would have been included in that bid. It generally is, in my experience. I don't know, not commercial experience, but you know, permitting is usually on them. And then masonry work and interior temporary protection being excluded. And then again, number 7, the delightful, you know, the scope creep stopper, of course, which is very important, but I don't know, in my own experience, if items 1 through 12 fully cover the scope of work of this project or not. So I feel a bit ignorant to the needs of the process for this. And is it a common procedure to hire a company in this way that then does an informal bid process?
It is something that the district's done for many years, especially with regards to our roofs, because the technical skill and ability to, one, you know, get out to the contractors, to actually ensure that it's done right. You're kind of paying a little bit for the upfront, I guess, for the services, kind of like what I was suggesting for the boilers. Instead of paying, you kind of go through this company, you're getting, hopefully, their expertise. So they're often, we could look at the contract, but they're often on site throughout the process, doing either weekly or daily, depending upon the duration of the project, checks to make sure, yep, it's actually getting done the way it's supposed to be done. In larger commercial projects, you might have the architect who provide that service for you, but since we're not building a full building, just get it. That's been my experience. I don't know what this
that's super
experience is,
helpful.
but
Thank
yeah.
I would hope that, you know, where it says any work not exclusively described in the above proposals, scope of work is excluded, that everybody did their due diligence and what they're supposed to do and make sure that everything is in the proposal scope of work. You know, when they came out and did the walkthrough to see what they needed to do, I would hope, and I'm assuming that Garland did that, is that?
Yeah, Joey worked with Garland.
Yeah, Joey, you know, would have been with them when they did that, so I would hope that they have everything in there that's supposed to be there, and we don't run into a situation where, you know, they're going, well, that wasn't in the scope of our work, therefore it's extra. So I'm relying on the professionals that they did their job.
And as was mentioned in here, this is, you know, supply chain issues right now, and they want to get this ordered and processed as soon as possible, so.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, the way that the shipments of stuff is now, it's, you know, you're hoping you get it when it's supposed to be delivered.
Yeah.
You know, with the trucking industry the way it is, then I don't see it getting any better. So, any more discussion? Hearing none, I will be willing to hear a motion.
I will move that we accept the bid for the roof replacement as recommended by our facilities director.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. We've had discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? 5-0, motion passes.
The only thing I mentioned, maybe for the future, for major things like that, it might have been nice to have Joey either on Zoom or here.
Yeah.
To be able to ask questions too.
Yeah.
We asked him about that, if he had a family commitment,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I agree.
No, I know
I know we moved our meeting to Monday and who knows, put that in.
Yeah, well, hey,
Is what it is.
we all do the best we can.
Yeah.
License renewals, and I believe I'll turn that over to Susan.
Every year before, on or before, March 15th, we are required to, approve renewals, teacher and administrator renewals, so that our licensed staff, in that time. And so we will be putting out information, tomorrow to be able to let those people know where they stand. And so the chart that you have in your packet, you will see the licensed teachers who will be moving from a year 1 designation, probationary year 1 to probationary year 2. Those at probationary year 2 that will move to a probationary year 3, and those at a probationary year 3 who will move to contract teaching status. The other list is the individuals who are currently on contract teacher status who will also be renewed in this process. So you can see from the summary, the numbers of people, our 3rd year probationary folks that will go to contract status, they will be granted a 2-year rolling contract for 22, 23, and 23, 24. And so that's the move, is it takes them to that rolling 2-year. Same thing with our contract teachers who are already in that process. And we also have a couple of temporary employees who, because they were hired for temporary status, they will be non-renewed. But it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their performance in the district. It's just that they were hired for a temporary process. So they would have opportunity, if the position still exists, if it wasn't a leave of absence or something, to be able to come back around and reapply for that position. And then the same thing with our administrator status. And we have 2 administrators who are in temporary positions, Don Norman, our special education director, and Brett Billville, who is acting as our temporary high school principal. So that's the listing and the recommendations, and we will get the notifications out. As per Oregon law, this is something that has to come before the board for approval.
Okay, I'll be willing to hear a motion.
I move that we approve the licensed teaching renewals as presented in their packet.
Somebody got to say it. I don't know which one it was, but we'll let Lillian decide.
She finished the sentence, I only started it.
Do we need to state how many licenses are going from 1st to 2nd, 2nd to 3rd, or
The motion can just say as stated in the packet.
Yeah, well, some people may not have a packet, so that's,
right.
you know, that's all I was saying. So, okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, and thank you for moving the meeting to make sure that we could, that I could have my information right.
Yep. Not a problem. Okay, consent agenda.
You want the motion then?
Yeah, we can.
And then we can
One
discuss
question.
it.
Yep.
Just one very, very quick question. For the out-of-state travel, it looked like there were maybe 4 or 5 people, I can't remember now, who were attending the same event. And their estimated expense included mileage for everyone.
Yeah, they
Do
will,
we let them?
no,
we just let them
they will be traveling together.
Okay.
And also, the hotel accommodations are on high end because I gave everybody the $200 and they will be doing some room sharing. So it's not gonna be that expense. But what I did was I wanted to, because we're still in the throes of making the determinations, I wanted to just go the high end.
Yeah.
But we do know, yes, you are absolutely correct, that mileage will not be a part of everybody. We're offering the use of it. We know there'll be 2 cars, and that's all we believe is that there will be 2 going. One of them could be a district car, or they might both be personal vehicles, but that's the thing right now. So no, there certainly will not be all travel expense. There also will be breakfast and lunch, we believe, provided at the event. And so in that case, instead of looking at a per diem rate, we'll look at reimbursing for a dinner expense and not doing the full per diem, but wanted to just put it out there. Because we knew that if we didn't approve it tonight, it would never be approved in time for them to attend. So yes, there will be less expense.
I also would
Great
just say
question.
I'm in full support of them having their own rooms and not having to share. Just to go on record.
Oh, that's fine.
However they'd like to do it.
That was my only question.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you said something, because I just chose to go on the high end, knowing that that wasn't gonna happen. We put money for professional learning, for social emotional learning in our student investment account, our SIA plan. And so we're using that resource to be able to support their attendance. And it's an opportunity for new behavior specialists at each of our primary elementary levels to be able to be together and really create some cohesive planning.
That's wonderful.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I would be happy to make a motion if you're ready to hear one.
Yeah, we can make a motion then discuss, or we can discuss and then make a motion. It doesn't make any difference which way we do it.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented in our packets.
Second. Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to policies. Second reading.
Anton seconded. Yeah.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the policies as listed in our packet.
I didn't, as I read through them, I didn't see anything jump out at me, but I also didn't read every word, so.
Yeah, I didn't read every word of it. I read a lot of it. I didn't see any.
I was mostly looking at the deleted stuff and how the changes, so.
Now, this went through the policy committee, correct? Who's on the policy committee?
Yeah, so.
Any commentary? Do you have any
No,
major concerns or changes that were done in these policies, or they just kind of, what I see now look like some wording changes and updates and,
Yes.
and that type of thing.
so primarily these were wording changes and just updates like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, rest assured, if there's something big, we will bring it up for you, but yeah, these are pretty much just all technicality type stuff.
okay. So we'll see, did we have a motion?
Yes, I'm.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
okay. Moved and seconded to accept the policies as changed in here. All those in favor? Motion passes 5-0. On the meeting closure, board reports and thanks. I don't think we have any board reports. So, board thanks.
I just want to, again, celebrate all of the amazing athletic achievements of all of those different sports teams this season. I know they all worked really hard. I'm repping tonight.
There you go, I love it.
For my cheer and stunt kid. Yeah, they all worked really hard, and I know that it has been a strange and rough road with sports for the last couple of years, but I think it's been a good time to teach them sportsmanship and teamwork in a different way. That's been rewarding to me as a parent. Good job, all the athletes.
and coaches
Sure. Absolutely, yeah.
and parents.
And I would like to reiterate from earlier our thanks for the classified employees in the district. The district couldn't run without them. It's just flat out. It's like, taught the district for 31 years, and I always had so much help and support from the classified that made my job as a teacher so much easier.
I would just echo those same remarks. Also, just call out the reading retrievers in the elementary school, taking first place in the Battle of the Books. Also, commended, academic achievement there. I also like to thank Antone because, it's so great to have somebody that knows something about facilities on the board. I just, watch and learn. It's impressive. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful.
I should have had you contact
Echo all the sentiments, thank you, and also just want to thank the folks who took all the time to, not only tonight, but continually take time to review our curriculum. There's a huge ask on top of all the other work that they're doing, and I appreciate that. Also, all the folks who continue to participate on the leadership team and district team with regards to the ever-changing policies around ready schools, safe learners, and continuing to work through all those processes as required by the state, and also just making sure we're doing what's in the best interest of trying to do what's in the best interest of all the students in our district, as well as continue to have the Fulham Academy. I think that's another big asset that we've had during this time.
And I just mentioned the GED celebration Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock at the high school library for everybody that wants to be there. I plan to be there.
I'm planning.
Barring unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah. So I just like to agree with everybody that's been said, and especially with the classified people with their special appreciation week this week.
Actually, technically it was last week.
Well, okay, but we're here this week.
Let's just do it for a whole month.
I know. Hey, we're in the right month.
There you go.
And then everybody that works for the district. I mean, it's this combination of everybody. I know I say that every time, but it takes them all to make it work and work good and smooth. So that's where we're at with that.
One of the things that I have to tell you is the comments that I've heard from a couple of people that were in appreciation for the additional time minus students in February, the one of the days that we shifted.
Yeah.
That there were some folks that expressed some really great appreciation to the board for making that decision to allow them time to be able to do the things they needed to do, and to hear about that. I mean, normally if there's things like that and I don't hear, it's okay. But it was, it matters when they're going to send an email to me and say, hey, we really appreciate it. So just need you to know how much that decision has been appreciated and supported.
It's good. I'm glad that they appreciate it.
I just have one more thing.
What's that?
I have one more thing. It's for Brad at Global News, who works tirelessly to cover our school and our school district and all the events, and it is noticed and appreciated.
Thank you, Brad.
You worked overtime this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I don't think I've ever seen one that wasn't accurate either.
Yeah.
You know, that's good. Hey, you read some of the other newspapers? Yeah, okay. Okay, does anybody have anything that they would like to see on the agenda for next meeting? Yeah. Well, I think we'll get together and see what's coming up on the regular deal there, so we can make sure that's on the agenda. Want to make sure that I believe next month, the 21st of April,
Back to Thursday.
is back to a Thursday.
Yeah.
So so that everybody can remember to put that back in the calendars on Thursday instead of Wednesday or Monday. Any board requests?
Only request I have in light of our couple $100,000 facilities items is revisiting the facilities committee. I know that, got coveted like many other things, but I think maybe an opportunity to provide Joey with support, and just, have either Joey or someone who's on that committee be able to say, yep, here's what's been vetted, yes, here's the process.
He's gonna come join us in April,
Yeah.
and Jennifer and Joey and I sat down last week, whenever.
Friday.
And had some conversation just about that,
Sure.
of being able to, work through those protocols, so it's very timely. what you're
Yeah,
asking.
good. No, I just know it's been a hit and miss and attempted and not, so might be an opportunity, and also as we go for the.
Well, I remember not too long ago that we had a list of things in a 10-year plan
Right.
that they had to do, and I haven't seen
You
that, but
still got that,
Well,
we saw that last week.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, that was, it was last Friday because I came in to
Oh, okay.
visit. You were, just got out of that meeting and headed for Corvallis, so.
Oh, that's right.
So, one other thing, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask or not, but, I recently was on the, athletics page looking for our concussion protocols. And it just says concussion protocols coming soon.
Oh,
I have a feeling that it said that for
long
maybe a
time.
while.
We'll check
And
that
that is
out.
really important information, because,
Yeah.
I have a kid who we don't know when she can return to sports because it's not.
Not listed.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, well, yes,
Okay.
yes, you can get nice concussion in cheerleading.
Oh, I
Yeah, I
know.
can imagine.
Second one was
Those are hard floors to come down.
Yes, they are.
Well, and cheerleading is a
Being
whole
kicked in the
different
back of the
animal.
head's not that much fun either, so.
Man.
Okay,
That's it
any
for me.
more requests? Hearing none. Adjourn.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Yep.